I worked with Mike Love and Bruce Johnston. That's the one I joined, and that's the one who worked the most. And Brian hadn't even started touring again yet until I was into the Beach Boys for 10 years.
Who was the boss of the band when you were there?
When I was in it?
When you were
Well, Mike Love. It wasn't until 2012 that they had the 50th anniversary. So I'd been in it since 2000. And so when 2012 came up, hang on, I got to take this call. I'm just kidding.
It's Brian.
2012 came along. I didn't even know if I was going to be on that tour. I was looking for work for something else. I had a friend, Mark Schulman, who used to play with Foreigner. He says, I can get you an audition for Foreigner and all this kind of cool stuff. And then my phone rang and said, hey, you got to go down to Ocean Way on Sunset. And that came from Brian's camp. I call them camps. Excuse me. And I said, okay, I hadn't heard from my people, Mike or Jackie or Bruce or anybody. And so as soon as I hung up the phone, I called my guys. I said, hey, man, they're telling me to go down to Ocean Way. Do you know that? Just go down there. You'll be fine. I said, okay. Now I'm thinking, okay, I went down there and Brian's there and all his guys are there. And it was Scott Totten, who was our Beach Boys musical director, and myself. We were chosen out of Mike's band. Mike wanted Scott and I to be part of the 2012 thing. So I was really happy about that. And I walk in. Now you have to understand the history with Brian and my family. Brian and my brother Bill were very, 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 very ridiculously close friends. Okay, yeah. So Brian over the years has seen me, and he says, hey, Cowsill, if I'm going on stage, you're coming with me. And I'm like, dude, I'm not Bill. He thinks I'm Bill, So it's, sweet as can be.
Yeah.
Indian Lake is one of his downright favorite songs. Every time it comes on, he whoops it up. 2012, Mike made sure that Scott and I were in this band. And we went down to Ocean Way and recorded the official re-recording of Do It Again live in the studio, and Brian's sitting there and he's watching me. He says, hey, drummer, play it like this. It's like, oh, this is so fun. Everybody say, Brian, you know who that is? That's John Cowsill. That's John Cowsill. I said, leave him alone. I want him to call me drummer. It was so much more fun, and he would just stare at me, it was so fun. God, I love that guy. I love them all. They're my heroes. I don't get political about these people, even though all their dysfunctional infighting over the years, whatever, I've never seen Mike and Brian have a hard time. And on that tour, it was fun. And, but that 2012 thing was a hoot. And I had a great time personally for myself and playing with all Al Jardine, Brian Wilson, Mike Love, Bruce Johnson, and David Marks. Those were the 5 remaining Beach Boys. And I got to be the drummer for that. Fucking pinch me, man.
It was amazing.
I was so excited, and I thank them all.
It was the best tour.
I
was there.
She was there for some of it. Yeah, it was just the best time. Yeah. My whole Beach Boy tenure was the best time. I can't believe I had a career and that they gave me one. So I'm a very appreciative person of that.
You're one of the most appreciative people I've ever met. It's very refreshing.
And there's a couple of great moments, I'd be in the... it was really chaotic in the dressing rooms where everybody was always yapping too much, and I really like quiet sometimes. And so I knew that Brian's dressing room was a safe place. It was either Jeff Foskett and Brian and invited specials. So I was allowed to go in there and sit there, and it would be like sitting with Minnie Mouse at Disneyland. She can't say a word, but you'd sit there with Brian, and it was great. I didn't want to talk, and he knew I was there, and his eyes would be closed, and he was just kind of chilling. And I remember... a couple of times we were doing Jimmy Fallon, and I'm in the dressing room with him, and he says, you miss your brothers? Like, wow.
Where'd that come from?
Wow.
I said, yeah.
Yeah.
He says, I miss mine too. It's like, but
he misses his brother.
Just regular random thing. So he was there, and the other time I thought he was asleep, and I was going to tiptoe out of the dressing room, and as I walked by him, he goes,
oh, wow.
Because of Indian Lake.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I missed a plane, and I got to ride on his bus with him and his driver. And because Brian only liked to take his own bus. And so I got on there, and he always sits in the front seat next to the driver. And he'd play the same playlist over, and Indian Lake would come on. yeah, man, that's the one. You know, it's like, man, that was so cool. It was
That's
just
so
so
exciting.
cool.
Go figure.
And those are my Brian stories. And there weren't many, but he was always so sweet. And he's always the first one sitting on the side of a stage in a special chair. And he'd get there in plenty of time to not miss the show. I think he had a really good time.
Yeah.
Oh, and I remember at rehearsals at center stage, we were practicing and I got off the drum set and I walked towards him. He says, "How much do you charge?" And I said, "What do you mean, how much do I charge?" He says, "For that show." He was complimenting me. Oh, my God. Come on, man. That was the
Well,
coolest thing.